8, 7. Okay. All right, come on. Start it over.
Christian's was unplugged.
Oh. It's unplugged, probably.
Oh,
How nice of them.
okay.
First rule, check if it's plugged in. Oh, it was unplugged. Sorry, Tomas, thanks. We can go now.
Okay. Start counting from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everybody, this evening on June 3rd to the Complete Street Safety Committee meeting. So we'd like to take roll call. Correct.
Jose Moreno here.
Emily Warwick here.
Paul Buscal here.
Christian Cabrera here.
Note for the record, Raymond Lowe is not here yet.
Yes,
Raymond, where are you?
They said about 15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Is that? Do you hear that sound coming out of my speaker?
I do.
Okay. So move to the adoption of the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. That brings us to oral communications.
Any comments from the public? I don't have anyone in the Zoom and I haven't received any email correspondence.
Okay. Old business.
Oh wait, let's approve the minutes.
Yeah, we need to
Approve them. Oh, yeah. Approval of minutes would be helpful. Thank you. Approval of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the May minutes.
I second the motion to approve the minutes from May 2026.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, no, for the record, Raymond Lau is not here. Okay, old business? It says none. Any business, Thomas?
No old business.
Hus-
No.
How about you, Maz? Any old business? Okay, new business. We are going to welcome our new Complete Street Safety Committee members. And I'd like to welcome Janice. And your last name, Janice?
It's said Al Young, like, it hurts.
Al Young. Okay. Welcome, Janice. And Jose?
Jose Moreno.
Jose Moreno. Welcome, Jose.
Thank you.
We appreciate you applying for this committee, and it's really important. So thank you for that, taking your time to do this. Anybody, any welcoming thoughts from anybody?
I want to echo the same. Thank you so much for taking the time and effort to dedicate your time towards something really meaningful for this community. So really just wanted to appreciate that commitment and looking forward to working with you all.
Thank you.
Any thoughts from the new members? Janice?
Yes, I'm excited about being on this committee. I've looked at the work plan, and there are things on there that I was interested in before I joined. So I'm looking forward to working with the team on these issues.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jose?
Same here for me. There are some points that I would also like to emphasize more, but when I learn the status of how things are being done currently. So again, I'm new, I need to learn first.
Yeah, and anytime there's anything that you want clarification or you're interested in talking about, we talk about it. You don't
Thank you.
share, and Tomas and Maz are there to help us as well. Great. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to, oh, do I have to go like A, B, C, D? Okay, I'm sorry. So on new business, item E, Visitation Avenue stop sign warrant analysis update. And what that warrant analysis update is, Jose and Janice, is how the state determines if we can move forward with installing stop signs. I believe. All right, Tomas, sorry.
There's no presentation, but we're just going to provide an update. So we did receive our final report from the consultant, Group Consulting. He did multiple warrant studies. I'll just quickly run through them. We can get into more detail later on, but the crash experience warrant, as we kind of expected, there's not a significant history of crashes there, so that warrant A was not met. Warrant B, the site distance warrant, it's essentially just this, analyzing the site distance from the minor street to the oncoming street and the major street being Visitation Avenue. Caltrans standard recommends 150 feet of site distance, and our current conditions had 50 to 60 feet of site distance, so this warrant was met. Warrant B was met. Warrant D, 8-hour vehicular traffic volumes. There are specific figures that I don't have in front of me, but based on traffic counts for the 8-hour periods, this warrant was not met. And so, irregardless of those warrants not being met, based on the site distance, the opinion of the consultant was to recommend for the stop signs for both intersections. So that's the conclusion he came to, and we're still discussing internally about what those next steps may be. But yeah, so his recommendation was always stop at both intersections, Mariposa Visitation and Mendocino Visitation.
That's really, that's great, Tomas. Did you have more on that? Was it still like $2,000 per stop sign for installation and materials and stuff? So 4,000 per intersection?
Yeah,
Two
that's
intersections,
around there. Yeah, it's
8,000?
not, two stop signs, yeah, is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but yeah, it would be a relatively small amount.
Yeah,
And-
I just want to add that, I think we just received we had a draft and a discussion. I think we just received the final report recently, in the last couple of days. So now we are going to move towards actually scheduling those improvements. And so what that's going to look like for the community is that we're going to go, we're going to put that into our work plan, to be determined whether we're going to contract it or do it in-house. It really depends on what else our maintenance staff have going on. And then from there, we would, I usually like to, when we install new stop signs, we want to give it a little bit more emphasis, because a lot of folks it's going to be new to a lot of people, obviously. And so what we want to do is we will install the signs and also do some additional outreach in advance, install the signs. And what I like to usually do is put barricades, the little A-frames kind of off in the curb line with an additional stop sign to just kind of really highlight it, at least for the early duration right after the installation. I don't have a scheduled date yet, given that we just got the final report, but we will work on that and get it implemented as soon as possible.
Just general guidance for just meetings, whenever,
Oh,
because we're recording on Zoom and broadcasting to YouTube, to speak into the mic whenever.
Okay, so I'm just doing a rough calculation of a city block. So 150 feet, is that like what? 1/20th, 1/10th of the block?
Yeah, I guess around, yeah, it's not far off. I don't have the exact.
Well, then each block could be a little bit different as far as the length too, but yeah, it's, I think standard, I would say, and it's not, I think, I hear where you're coming from, Janice. It's from your perspective, it's actually going to be your visibility. It's kind of a directional, right? So when it's where the vehicle that's stopping can see the other vehicle in the other, in the minor approach, is where that 150-foot distance is. I don't know if we have any exhibits of that site distance that we can pop up on the screen. I think visual would be helpful for folks. Do you know which ones turn off those lights?
Oh, mood lighting.
We'll turn it
I'll
back.
turn it back on in a sec.
Okay. Now we feel like mushrooms.
It's just aerial film. It's not really like,
Okay.
yeah, that's the best. There's no like graphics on there or anything. Guess we can request that. No, that's it. Yep. Oh, we're gonna turn it on in a sec. We'll be back. Sorry.
Tomas and Maz, will this report be made publicly available to everybody, or is this something that's staying in-house?
I mean, it's a public document. It's available for folks, but we generally, we will have it and it's available upon request.
Okay, I just know there was a lot of residents that were curious about this stop sign
Sure.
warrant analysis. So if they ask, we can say, talk to Tomas.
Yeah, if anybody, yeah, we weren't planning on doing any major, there's no public presentation or anything of that nature, but if anybody's interested to find out more, absolutely have them reach out to us and we can provide a copy.
And then will you put something in the Star? I'm sure the blast, but will you put something in the Star about this? So they're like, when you say kind of build up for the implementation of it, will that include messaging through the Star and such?
Yes, if we can align it appropriately with the timing of that release, if we are, because given that we have this, once we get it scheduled and we can move forward, I'd like to install it, given that the warrant was met, the sooner the better, but yes.
And when you say the sooner the better and as soon as possible, does that mean a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 6 months?
I like to get it installed in the next, 2 to 3 weeks, realistically, yeah.
Thank you.
Christian?
So this was definitely a grassroots issue, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy that it went through. Basically, I'm going to echo what Emily said. And when we have a timeline that this is going to get actually implemented, or also do you feel there should be some sort of pre-implementation? I mean, I don't see why would that be.
Are you talking about when you mean pre-implementation? Are you talking? What are you referencing?
Some noticing, but it's just a stop sign, right?
Yeah, so that's why what we do is we have a lot of robust social media and different communication methods with our residents, so we will do that. And then what I like to do is, it's not just residents, it's also anybody that's driving through that corridor, delivery vehicles, people that may not be getting those posts. That's why I like to double up with a smaller A-frame stop sign. It really just brings a lot of attention to these new intersections with stop control. So we kind of double it up to start, and then we'll go back to the standard stop on the pole. That'll be there, but what I'm saying is we'll have an extra sign. We can provide a little bit more. What we'll do is we'll provide a little more information and do a little rendering when we do any outreach, just so we can show folks what that would look like.
Great.
Any other questions? So, I'm not sure if the two of you are aware, we had public meetings at the library to be able to get the neighborhood that's affected primarily by a lot what goes on out there to get their feedback. So a lot of what we did today, the work that's been done today is from those meetings that we've had. So, okay. Anybody from the public?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of questions. Since only one of the three, that is the 150-foot sight distance, was not met, did we consider remediating that? Second question is the hidden stop sign on Visitation going south, wondering if anyone considered including that in this little project so that all the stop signs get their modifications at the same time. And that study appeared to be looking at a tremendous amount of data, not exclusive to this intersection. And I'm wondering if, for example, did we collect things like how much people are honoring the stop signs or not? Is there other material that would be of interest in this study? Thank you.
Thank you. Tomas?
I know we have turning movements, so whether that be bicyclists or pedestrians, or as far as additional data we have, or vehicles. I know we have speed data.
Volumes.
We have traffic volumes, traffic counts. That was one of the essential parts of the study. I think that's the bulk of the data.
Well, we're happy to share it with you, Chris.
Will you share that with the committee as well? the report?
Sure.
Thank you.
Could you clarify, you were talking about an obstructed stop sign?
On Monterey and Visitation, if you're going toward the mountain, depending on the vehicle that you're in, you cannot see that stop sign until you're practically on it.
Is that because of the street tree?
Yes.
Okay.
We can, I think we can take a look at addressing some of the stops in the vicinity since we'll be out there. I'll talk to our staff about seeing what we can address. Now, those ones are a little tricky because it's not, it's the tree itself, it's not just, overgrowth, so it might require a relocation. I understand that. So we'll take a closer look.
Okay, any questions?
So, just for clarification, how many stop signs did we requested?
We wanted to study the addition of stop signs on Mariposa going across Visitation and Mendocino going across Visitation on either side. So 4 total.
But only 2 were warrant to.
No, each 2 at each intersection were warranted.
So we had 2 intersections, and at each of those intersections, we'll have 4 stops.
Got it.
So it'll be 8 new signs, 2 in each direction at each intersection on Visitation, 2 on each direction on the minor street at each intersection. So when you add it up, 8 new total signs will go up.
Thank you.
Raymond, anything you'd like to say about this?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, note for the record, Raymond's here.
I think there was one. I think there was one other question that Chris had. I'm trying to remember. That was with respect to. Yes. So if it's a fixed object, in these cases it was the structures themselves. So if it was something that was movable, like a bench or a landscaping, something that's tangible and able to be either relocated or modified easily, we wouldn't be going down this path. But in these cases, it was really the orientation of the buildings and the geometry of the intersection that created the site distance concern, which is a warrant that we can stand behind.
Yeah, the reason I was asking that is because I was told by residents on one of those streets, I forget which now, that it was since the introduction of the bulb outs that it got worse. So that's why I thought maybe adjusting something in the intersection might make it possible to.
Got it.
Going down Visitation, they're already on the side streets.
We already have it on
Yes, on the side streets.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Tomas, Maz, did you have more on that?
Yeah, so Tomas just reminded me that we did have stop control on the minor legs, and it was the major leg that does not have stop signs. So he's thank you for that correction. So it'll be 4 new stop signs, 2 at each intersection, because the minor legs already have stop. We just don't have control and Visitation. Thank you for that correction, Tomas.
Yeah, thanks, Tomas.
Keeping me honest.
Okay, anybody else have anything? All right. Moving on. Oh, now you want to say something?
I just want to confirm, do you know, is the live stream active right now? I tried to join and I received an error and it just seems like it's just a blank page.
You tried on Zoom or YouTube? Through Zoom or YouTube?
Through the link,
The link,
from the
okay.
webpage on YouTube.
Let me check. I'll check.
Okay, thanks.
I'll try to work it out. We'll keep the meeting going, but I'll try to work it out.
Okay,
for my phone.
thanks.
Okay. All right, that brings us to item F under new business. The Brisbane Elementary School Safe Streets, Complete Street Safety Committee meeting recap. So, are you all familiar with what went on at Brisbane Elementary School?
Not really.
Maybe I can give a little recap. and then we can discuss next steps. So part of so what the city reached out to, we had an opportunity to work with the County Office of Education, and it was for a school travel fellowship grant that provided technical support and funding for short-term projects. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know, this feedback's pretty bad today. Apologies on that. And so we entered into this program, and the County Office of Education works with a number of jurisdictions, and we look specifically at areas around schools that have safety concerns with respect to access to these schools. And so for this round, the City of Brisbane, along with Brisbane Elementary School and the school district staff, decided to go after this opportunity, and we were selected to participate. And what we've done over the last couple of months is we've had a number of meetings. We've done some walk audits and some meetings with our consultants, as well as in person, to come up with strategies and look at opportunities to increase safety and increase the safety so that folks feel comfortable walking and riding bikes to school rather than in vehicles. And so we've had a number of meetings to date, and I think what we can do is turn it over to Tomas, and he can give a little bit of a recap of where we are right now in the process and kind of what we're looking at as we wrap up the rest of the school year and look at implementation.
Right, so to date, this was handled by the BES team, and I think, Emily, you were more involved in it, but the toolkit that was ordered, part of the program allowed us $500 to order items from a toolkit, and I could find them here.
I think we actually got a little bit more than 500 because there were some items that we got that we weren't planning on. So we got new cones with crossbars on them, which will, at drop-off and pickup, will not allow parents to double park, let their kid out because they'll hit the bar. So they won't be able to create a traffic congestion there, and also for the safety of the children. They won't be able to get out on the other side of the car as well. They'll have to get out on the sidewalk side. Those cones will be a great implementation. They were not delivered yesterday. Something has happened. Carlene has let us know that they will be delivered in the next week or so, but it'll probably be implemented next school year, as the school year ends on June 12th. And then we did get a new flashing stop sign, a big one, and a new safety vest for our crossing guard.
Yep, thank you, Emily, for that on the toolkit. And then in our last workshop, we identified the priority locations that came about from the walk audit, from the Brisbane's Cafe, the Brisbane Elementary Principals Cafe, and also from our own meeting at BES. And the priority locations were San Bruno Avenue, Glen Park, San Benito, and San Bruno and Alvarado. And we chose to zero in on San Bruno Avenue and Glen Park and San Benito. And the reason we are, I guess you could say, holding off on Alvarado and San Bruno for now is because we think we can address some of the striping and visibility and safety concerns on Alvarado Street with a planned paving project we have coming up. So we chose to prioritize the other two locations. And tomorrow, actually, we're going to be meeting with the consultant to essentially hash out their preliminary proposal for what they're recommending at the intersections that we're prioritizing. And these are focused on visibility. So these include, off the top of my head, I think they include signage in the road, like those crosswalk signs that we see around town. They include bulb outs, temporary bulb outs, because these are just soft improvements. And yeah, more to come on that once we finalize this tomorrow at our meeting.
And I will add that they did give us our walk audit report, preliminary, that we are working on reviewing. And they did leave all 4 intersections in that report, so they're all gonna be part of that presentation that happens. And I believe Baz and Tomas made magic work, because within a day or two after having a meeting, that palm tree disappeared on San Bruno, which was causing a visibility issue for kids crossing the street, and it was gone. It was pretty impressive. So
Yeah, thank you to Keegan on the maintenance team. Yeah,
thank you to Keegan. More vegetation and cleanup to happen, but that was lovely to see how quickly that happened.
So I'm just curious, had anybody had a chance to read the report that just came out, was sent to us?
Yes.
Okay, it's basically what Tomas was saying, what they were focusing on as far as some pretty serious stuff that could be taken care of, and he alluded to San Benito and Glen Park, San Bernardino Avenue and Glen Park. So I guess that report's something we'll look at, others will look at on their own.
Yeah,
Well, not tonight, right?
right, not tonight. We can
Okay.
share that, similar with the other report that we had.
Okay, so I'll open it up to the committee. Christian?
So, I do feel that this is a important topic, and I was wondering if we could do something similar to what we do with the visitation analysis that we've been working on, to have sort of maybe put together in a matrix and have clear action items, provide updates routinely and who's doing what. And I know that we're working in conjunction, I forget the name of the institution now, but I also feel that could be an opportunity, if those some of those issues are not included, because we're working with this third party, use this opportunity to carry on with a lot of the issues that were discussed in the meeting. For instance, even the street light on Bayshore and San Bruno.
Yeah. So just for the consultant's called Alta Planning, but yeah, I can definitely prepare something similar like the matrix you mentioned. So tomorrow we'll have a better idea of what the actual recommendation will be. They gave us, like I said, a draft, a proposal, and tomorrow we'll have a better idea of what that might be, and then that can help me organize that information and say what's happening where. Regarding the
So what I'd say is that this effort is going to be a quick build project. So we're looking at more temporary things. But I agree, there are, the whole point of this exercise with all the public outreach is to get a more formalized project put together. So once the report's finalized, that will be part of our presentation we'll present to this committee. And that will be something that we will utilize not just for a presentation, but also for opportunities for grant improvements. So as we go forward with implementing other hardscape improvements, if we, like bulb outs or making modifications to our crosswalk configuration, those will be things that we will do as part of the outcome of this kind of shorter term effort. But again, the way that this program set up is that these soft improvements are for approximately 1 year, and then we will revisit after that time. So after the next school year cycle, we will revisit our temporary improvements and see what worked, what didn't work, and with the idea being that we implement something permanent after we had a chance to vet it in real time.
So at a micro level, right, the objective will be increase either the older kids, to go to BES either in bikes or walking, right? So what does that entail? What kind of modification or improvement you're going to do to the sidewalks, et cetera? There was also some backed up happening of the parents that were dropping off their kids, and there were a couple of reasons as why, what would that happen? So how we're going to address that. And I'm sure there's other more. So having more clarity, like a little summary of what are the main objectives was, So I'm thinking maybe like a matrix and a little, sort of like what we did with Visitacion would be.
Well, and that's what that Alta report will provide. So yeah, well, then that'll be presented and we'll share that once it's finalized.
Also, to address congestion, actually, Emily was big on this, but I believe the church agreed to allow drop-offs in their parking lot. So that's one initiative. Also, education will be part of this too, aside from the actual soft improvements. I believe the elementary school and even the city could do just general best practices when dropping off your kid. So there's going to be an education component and a implementation component.
Before we continue with more questions, could you just explain the bulb outs to members that might not know what those are?
Yeah, so maybe on Mariposa Street and Visitation Avenue, we see real permanent bulb outs. These are essentially, the idea is to push the pedestrian that is waiting to cross the crosswalk out more into the view of vehicular traffic. So the idea is to extend them into the street, actually get them closer to the street so that a driver can see them while standing there, whereas previously they might have been 10 feet off to the side on the curb, and it'd be a lot more difficult for a driver to see them. So these implementations will be soft improvements. So it'll be that in the form of bollards, kind of like exactly like on San Bruno and San Francisco Avenue, where we see that the temporary bulb out. It'll be something like that.
Thank you. Raymond?
This is still the topic in terms of the school committee session that we had. Yeah, I guess, yeah, I thought that was well attended. I liked the community engagement. I liked the ideation between not just what we can do on the streets, but also policy, educational programs. So I was just curious, would it make sense to already start contemplating when we would have a follow-up kind of session where we could potentially present the plan, or even hear feedback in terms of some of the enhancements, or have them also be able to provide updates in terms of programming that they were going to explore?
Yeah, I think that makes sense at one of our upcoming meetings, because like I said, tomorrow we're gonna have that meeting. So even the team, ourselves, staff, and Brisbane elementary staff will have a better idea about what this is gonna look like tomorrow. And then from there, we can, once we have that better idea, we can, plan to invite people back and say, what are your thoughts, opinions, concerns? Yeah, so that's a good idea.
Anything else, Raymond? Emily?
Oh, I don't really have anything to add. I'm on the committee, so I've seen the report.
Yeah,
and,
Emily's plugged in.
Once we have that dialed in and you all see that, then we'll have more to talk about.
Jose? Janice?
Just an update on the church parking lot. So our representative has contacted Sean Higgins, the principal, to set up a time to discuss with him. I don't know whether that'll happen before the school year gets out. I think Sean's pretty busy right now. So, but there is going to be some training involved. We were thinking that the entry to the parking lot would go in one of the parts of the parking lot, and then the exit would be through another, so, there would be some flow. But anyway, those are details that need to be worked out still.
So, and when you're working out that detail, Janice, and Jose, just so you know, that's for the overflow parking or drop-off people in the mornings. We should also make sure that people don't try to cross at Alvarado and San Bruno, walk up to Santa Clara where the crossing guard's at, when you're making your policy for drop-off.
Say that again.
So it'd be a lot safer if the kids didn't cross at Alvarado and San Bruno, being dropped off at Alvarado and San Bruno, instead walk up to Santa Clara and San Bruno and cross where the crossing guard's at. For anybody that's dropping off there, maybe have signs or let people know how important that is.
That is part of the education and the messaging that will be part of the report, as well as what is going out to the parents of the school. And it will also include, one of the things in the report is adding an additional crossing guard at Alvarado.
I saw that, but
So-
I thought it said Santa Clara, additional at Santa Clara and San Bruno.
There already is a crossing guard at Santa Clara.
I know, but the report said an additional at Santa Clara and San Bruno. I was just
That's
being
why it's a draft.
technical. Thank you, Emily. Jose?
I was able to read whatever was included on the email I received, but it was not clear to me about the actual status of each of the projects. The information there is kind of vague. So for me right now, again, it's just grabbing a lot of information. So I think it's going to take me some time to figure out exactly what is happening because, again, I don't know if coming from different not a setup for a government setup, come from an industry where things work differently. Again, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how to properly track progress of each of the projects or the items that the committee is working on. So again, I'm just trying to grab as much information as I can to eventually get up to speed and clearly understand what is happening here. Because again, right now I don't have a clear understanding of what is being discussed, what is being proposed, because in the reports or the information that we received, is barely anything noted in there.
Yeah, thank you, Jose. So it's vague, and it's because it's still not even a plan. And that's what Tomas and Maz are working on towards the plan, to focus on that. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, and later on the agenda, we have our work plan item, which maybe might shed some light onto, scheduling or timelines we anticipate, or what we're working on. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I will say that we we just wanted to provide kind of a brief update on where we are, given that we spent a good amount of time at the Brisbane Elementary School at the last meeting. That we just wanted to share that the progress we've made in the last month and where we're kind of going. So yeah, as soon as we do have that full report, that'll be part of a presentation to this committee. Yeah, we'll definitely share that in advance. So thank you for that.
Christian? Thank you, Maz.
So, I mean, the only thing that I would add to this, because I was actually telling Emily, you know, when my kid was in the U.S., now he's a senior graduating, so I've been disconnected. But a lot of the issues were issues back then, and there's still issues today. So in terms of the stakeholders, you know, we have this, you know, the county education people. We also have the committee, the staff of the city. So I'm assuming we have the BES principal, or we're going to have some parents that are sort of going to be on the loop, and then, you know, when the kids get older, I'm assuming this is going to be transferred to some other parents, just to have some continuity, because this is not something that's going to get done within a year or so. It will be an ongoing thing for the most part.
Yeah, I think the way that the way that this process is set up is that's why the city and the school engage in this process. And that's actually one of the requirements for the school travel fellowship, is that it combines a team of city staff and the school. So because on two perspectives, one is to have those different mentalities. One, the public works side, obviously, as far as, you know, traffic and transportation systems, but also the user side, as far as the school itself and their programming and what they're seeing on their end. So that's part of it. And then the second part would be to kind of turn this into something that is a tangible project that we can, one, pilot for the next year, and then two, implement those permanent improvements. Doesn't mean that there won't be other areas of concern that will pop up over time. But what it means is that we have this really engaged effort to do some real important changes. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback from parents, from current parents of students, parents that had students in these schools before, and the school district itself, not just the principal. And so the idea would be that we actually are able to turn, after a 1-year pilot period, we do turn this into an actual completed project. But I also think that one of the other things that we've learned from this effort with the County Office of Education is this is our first cycle into this. They've been doing it for 5 cycles now. Yep. And a lot of the other agencies, this is their like 3rd, 4th, 5th cycles. So I think that this is what this allows us to do is build on that momentum and, you know, do it another one. Doesn't mean we're going to do the same one at the same school, but we could look at, you know, continuing safe routes to schools in other, you know, in future cycles, and engage parents and the community in other improvements. So I hear what you're saying. I think this is, you know, there's the intent of the report will be a tangible project that we can complete in the next 1 to 2 years.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, so I read the report that came out, or the findings, and couple of things that I brought up when we were there. One, I understand, wasn't really something that we were talking about as far as safe routes, but it was my concern about the safety for the children at the nursery school or preschool, where they sit just inside the chain link fence at Glen Park and San Bruno Avenue, and there's that driveway that just leads right into the fence, and they sit right up against that fence. And so my concern was, we need a wall, we need bollards, we need something there to protect the kids. And then I realized that kind of wasn't what we were talking about. But the principal got it, and people at the meeting got it, that, yeah, there's a hazard there, and it should be looked at. But one of the things that I brought up that was could have been a possibility and didn't show up in the report they sent back to us was when I voiced my concern about the kids crossing the street without looking and how important it is to educate the kids about that. And there was a woman there from the county that has a course for kindergartners, first grade, and second grade, where they take the kids out and teach them how to cross the street. You know, I do the junior high school kids on the mountain club, and I have to be on them all the time because one kid starts to cross and then they all go without looking, and they're all responsible for looking for themselves. And so that woman that came out and said that I do that program, I thought was really important for safety for the kids. And I was a little disappointed with the principal's response to that costs money, and we'd probably have to look at cutting something at the school to be able to facilitate that. And if I'm not mistaken, Maz, you might have mentioned something to the effect that it's possible the city with the school district could work towards that. Am I mistaken?
I don't remember saying that, but I do remember hearing that. But
That the city could work towards that? No.
well, I think there is. I think Sean. Yeah, I think the principal's perspective was that teachers already have a lot of things that they have to cover.
Yeah.
And the way that this particular program through the County Office of Education was set up was, here's the information. We'll provide that, help you guys kind of set that up, and then teachers, administrators, you guys handle it. I think the question is there an opportunity to get a consultant to come in and do educational programming? I know that Alta does. I've worked with them in other jurisdictions where we've done in different ways, but we've gone out to high school and we did kind of a transportation day with their with their AP science class and talked about intersection geometry and all sorts of different stuff. So I feel like there's opportunities to get to support them and not add more onus to the teachers themselves or the administrators themselves, but we can maybe find something to bridge that gap.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with his response to that because, to your point, you don't throw your hands up and say it's not possible. You're like, let's look at it and let's see if we can work this into it. And so, I mean, just in the day of our audit, numerous kids were running across the street without looking. So I just made the point, and I was just I wasn't sure why it didn't end up in the report, regardless of its feasibility or not.
I will say that Principal Higgins and Callie have already been in contact about the program. So
Oh.
you're not CC'd on those emails, but they are talking about it already.
Oh,
And the frustration was that the teachers might not have capacity because the curriculum is requiring of so much that they need to make sure that they have the right days and times and all that's figured out.
okay.
So they are talking.
Okay, so when you talk with them again, let them know that I would volunteer to learn from the consultant on how to facilitate a program like that. And I'm sure there's other parents that would like to be part of from what it sounded like, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, they have a program. I mean, we didn't delve into how often they did it or how much, but they went out on field trips and they, did that. So I wouldn't want the cost or the burden on the teachers, which is what the principal mentioned. And I get it. It's one more thing on their plate, but I think it's super important. I mean, curriculum's important, but so with that said, if we could maybe work on a volunteer thing to where we work that program. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Paul. That it's a great opportunity. We of course just can't speak on the bandwidth of Brisbane Elementary, but yeah, I think it's to be a great program.
So just to underline what Paul's saying, so I was driving down from San Bruno Avenue, going down the hill, and it was school time when kids were going home. And I only saw 3 kids on bikes going down, and the one that was at an intersection stopped and looked around. So that was really good. I don't know how old he was, but if there's, I think Tomas, you said 31% of the students at the elementary school, they ride bikes.
Right, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah,
Good
and
memory.
so if you get 3 times that amount where everybody's doing it, then when school's out, you're gonna have a lot of kids riding down the street on their bikes. And I don't know at what age they start to ride bikes, maybe not in kindergarten or first grade, but yeah, I mean, there could be a chance for the kids on bikes to just have little accidents there. So, you know, if you encourage one thing, you always have to always say, well, what are the pros and cons of it?
Okay, any comments from the public?
Can I just add to the bike? So, you know, right now the education portion of this is mainly pedestrian, or are they involving cyclists as well?
I think it'll be both, rolling, yep, biking, walking.
That would be great, because if you have a, you know, aggregated volume of scooters, skaters, and bike, and all of a sudden, you know, you have a good portion of them, yeah, it could get a little messy. I mean, and you want them to be active and to be riding their stuff. I would.
Right,
Because
yeah.
Brisbane is small, it's a safe town. If you don't do it here, you want to do it anywhere else.
I will add, I'm the one who went in and actually did the audit with the students on, are you walking, riding? Only 2 children ride or roll in some way to school as of that audit, out of 200 and some kids. So it's not that many that actually ride their bikes. Since then, every day, my child has been riding her scooter, and I get to carry it home. So safety first, I carry the helmet. But so there are 5 fifth grade boys that now ride their bike almost every day, and they're probably the ones you saw. So it did encourage more kids to ride their bikes and roll to school in different ways. So it's working. It's a hill. Like even my little one scooting up that hill, she's like, "Mom, push me." So it's not as easy for everybody, but it's working. The audit's working. I don't do the pickup, so she does like to ride home too.
Anybody else? Tomas, Maz? Okay. Moving on to, may I see it? Thank you. Okay. That brings us to new business item G, the 2026 work plan. Item prioritization and timeline discussion.
Yeah, I'll do just a brief intro into this. You know, me and we're just kind of talking internally, and we have this visitation issue, which we are moving along and which is progressing pretty well. And then we also have the school travel fellowship, which is ongoing. But I guess the conversation that arose internally was, what's going to be our next item that we prioritize? And to your guys' points, I think I've heard the sentiment echoed that we would like, you know, define timelines. We want to actually have goals and end dates instead of just working on an item till we feel it's complete. So really this conversation is for you guys to, you know, it's really open-ended discussion, but to maybe offer a tentative timeline for some of these issues. What do you want to prioritize? How much bandwidth do you have outside of these meetings? Because some of these are outside Complete Street Safety Committee meetings. These would require, you know, boots on the ground outside of this meeting. So really we just wanted to, you know, hear your guys' concerns. And also I think we feel the same way, where we like the idea of putting, as project managers ourselves with city work, we like the idea of putting deadlines to things. So we just wanted to open that up for you guys. And also it made sense with the new members to kind of review the work plan and get everyone up to speed. So
I don't think we approved this at the last meeting because we were at the school, right? We kicked it to this meeting. So do we want to also, when we add the prioritization and rejiggering of it, if we do that, can we then also make a motion to approve it?
okay, yep.
Thank you, Emily. So,
We're
Christian,
going to go through each point, just for a refresher, and we could do that, you know, fairly quick before putting it to a voting.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to go, oh, are we going to? I thought you were going to. I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were planning on doing. I was like, okay.
You're the
So-
chair.
All right. Was that a question for Tomas?
Well, for the committee, but you being the chair, I just asking the question, as a refresher, if we go through each point before we put it into a vote, and maybe as we go along, we might have an opinion here and there that will help us to prioritize them. But also from my from my experience, sometimes the city council has some ambiguity in terms of if you pick this particular point, you have to finish it and you cannot work on other points. And to me, sometimes if you're waiting for data and that particular point, you could skip and work on other points. But I just wanted to mention that. But sometimes city council has a particular way that they want you to deal with these things one at a time, or if you're waiting for some data, you could jump on the other one.
So let me clarify a couple of things. So remember that this was actually adopted by our city council. So this is your 2026 work plan. The intent of tonight's conversation is to my hope was to actually start putting dates out there as far as when we're going to go out and start doing some of this stuff. And remember, this isn't just staff. This is our committee members. So what days are you guys available? Who wants to work on which ones? The idea is that we can't have, because of the committee and the Brown Act, we can't have these conversations and coordinations privately. So the idea would be to talk openly about that. What are the days that make sense? Which ones do we want to focus on first? Staff is obviously available to support. We can provide, if we need to come up with maps so that we can make it easier for you guys to mark up areas of concern. If we want to start talking about setting up days to go out and walk some of these areas, I think staff would be happy to support in some of those areas. And I think the list is pretty robust. If we want to try to get everybody together and have a public walking meeting on all of these things, it will take a very long time to do it. So I think it's more of a divide and conquer perspective. So that's what our goal was tonight, was to really talk about what makes sense, which ones do we want to start focusing on at this stage. And we can go through it and we'll provide a recap in a minute. But I just wanted to kind of clarify, that was what my thought was as far as bringing this item tonight, to get this consensus of, all right, we've talked about it, we've adopted it, here we are in June. We won't have a lot of time to do all this work. Before we know it, it'll be Christmas time. So I really want to make sure that we have some dates and a plan of action so that we can start getting out there. If there are any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I was going to, Tomas can run through each of these bullet points and just kind of provide a highlight of what each one means.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so the first one, new members, this is a little more new to you guys, but the committee is very aware. We were working on finalizing our recommendation to address speeding and traffic safety issues on Visitacion Avenue. We offered them our recommendation. The city council was very supportive of our recommendation. And our first initiative in this regard was to do the always stop study, which has been completed, and looks like the stop signs are going to be installed. So that's the status update on there. There's more to come on that because there was a very broad recommendation.
I can provide a quick update. I know there was some drop off loading zone items as well that we got some mixed feedback. But we're still looking at working through those things, and I think a lot of it has some impact with some of the residents as far as not wanting too many loading zones and restricting parking. But I think we can work through some of that. The other one was looking at a pilot enforcement program, so that's something that I'm working on with our police department to see if we can set up a meeting with the company that was originally quoting. It was a pretty significant cost, about $70,000 a year, but wanted to see if we can do a pilot project, what that would look like, to see how that supports some of the concerns we've seen as far as parking in general. So those are also still happening, although the stop sign was kind of the first one.
I have a question. So this item number 1 on the work plan is related to item E that was previously discussed, right? Correct?
Yes.
So why there is no mention or relationship between them, because again, that's what I was saying before. I go and I read materials, and for me, it's not clear why you say, oh, a status on this one is item E that is going to be discussed, and this is what was, previously discussed, or what is the next action. So I think we need to start making connections, because again, for me right now, it's like, okay, we just talk about that thing. Now we're talking about this, but now no one is saying, oh, we already mentioned it in the previous items that we discussed. So again, for me, it's a little bit, I'm sorry, and I don't want to sound rude or anything, but again, it's kind of like just putting the dots on the materials that were provided, and it's going to make it a little bit easier for everyone to understand, probably.
I mean, that's a very good point. Obviously, for the new committee members, but we do have a matrix on this, and maybe that matrix now it could be converted into some sort of checkoff list of stuff that we have done. We just put a checkoff. And to this point too, we discussed parking lot, right? And the idea of the parking lot. I mean, overall, just to go back a little bit, this point here gave because we presented it at the library, it's a very important point. It's our downtown, it's our main artery to the town. So we had we had a real opportunity to organize that street in different ways, putting loading zones, mitigating speed with the parking, stop sign, etc. But we also discussed providing some support for the businesses over there. And one thing that stood out for them when we did the survey was a parking lot. I mean, unfortunate, the hardware closed doors. And I'm afraid other businesses are really going to be closing because we just don't provide them the right infrastructure, or we're not doing that much to help them out. Julie's closed too, and it's just going to be a ghost town.
I mean, there's certain things we can do as far as the parking side and the regulatory side, but there's also an economic component to this thing. So we can talk with. I'm happy to bring our economic folks to one of our meetings if we want to have that type of conversation. But from the perspective of Complete Street Safety Committee, I think we want to make sure that we are on track with what our goals are, which is to make sure that we have safe streets for all modes of transportation. So I do want to keep that in mind. Not to say that it's not important. But I think it's a little bit more than just,
I mean, the lack of parking, it is also a safety issue. And it also, when it mingles with another economic issue, which economic is also important in my book, we just need to keep it in mind.
I just wanted to comment on Jose's comments that he made and about a checkoff, like Christian was saying, like item 1 and 2, as far as setting dates, we're not setting dates for those, right? That's kind of like in your hands now as far as how we're moving forward. So when we're talking about boots on the ground, now we're talking like 3 to 6, right? Item 3 to 6.
Yeah, so I think maybe why don't you let us run through the updates for each of these items?
Thank you.
And then we can jump into that conversation, because you're right. It's once we get to item 6, it'll be a little bit more clear as far as where we are on each task and which ones we're looking at. That we need to start spending time and energy on to be able to complete this year. And I will mention to Jose's comments. I know we do have. It can be challenging to kind of go through, we have this priority, and I think there's a desire to have the priorities as part of our ongoing agendas. So what we will do is update that to include a little bit more description as far as milestones and different dates. I would also mention this to anybody that if you want to take a closer look at past agendas to get a better read on what we've talked about in the past and where we are. We have meeting minutes that are attached to those, and you can also reach out to myself or Tomas. After you receive the packet, before the meeting, if you have questions, it's totally fine. Reach out to us and let us know if you have concerns or comments. We can have dialogue with each individual committee member in advance of these meetings, so that you can come to these meetings feeling prepared and ready to engage. That is our job. We want to make sure that you guys feel like you have the information necessary to sit there and have these conversations. So thank you for those comments.
And to that point, I'm sure when you signed up to be on the committee, they explained the Brown Act, which they did. But sometimes that's not even clear. Two of us can talk to each other about stuff that's going on. It just can't be three of us or more. So I wasn't sure if you were aware of that. You could call, if you had Emily's number, she'll give you your number.
I do, but I decided not to. I didn't want to.
Okay, but you can talk to each other.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can always reach out to staff. That's, we're happy to go through it and explain anything that may be confusing or ambiguous. Yeah, happy to respond to those. So please, feel free to reach out to myself or Tomas. That's part of what we do staffing this committee.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, and to point number one, we have quite a lot of bit of backstory on that one. So I'd be happy to provide that, catch you up. This one goes back, I guess, maybe over a year now. So yeah, I'd be happy to bring you up to speed and then, send you the city council agenda report and everything like that. So I'll be in touch with that. And then Paul kind of mentioned this earlier, but point number two, this is more of a discussion-based item where we would have you guys, we would come back, like today, we came back and we gave you guys updates, and we will continue to keep you guys updated on that process. But as far as the goal setting and timeline setting, that will be more focused on items 3 through 6. So I'll just go through the list and then we can talk about that. The item 3 was evaluate commercial truck circulation patterns and identify opportunities to improve freight mobility and safety. There's also a bit of backstory on this one, but real quickly, people have expressed concerns with how some of the larger commercial trucks are navigating throughout town, but specifically on Visitation Avenue. Item 4 is to conduct a citywide audit of sidewalk conditions in need, crosswalk conditions, and tree-related site obstructions. This was I think there was a general consensus throughout the committee that this was important and I think Paul was a particular proponent of visibility issues due to tree site-related obstructions, but also I think anyone in Brisbane would recognize that there are crosswalks there could be a more streamlined process to having an inventory of crosswalks that we need to address, and also areas that are lacking in sidewalk. So that's what I think of when I think of the boots on the grounds one, people actually walking around town and identifying this location as an area of concern. Item 5 was conduct a citywide safety infrastructure review of bicycle routes. This one is a little more broad, but we also are continuously working on grant applications that encourage bike infrastructure and improving what we currently have right now. And then item 6, evaluate wayfinding signage for effectiveness and identify locations for additions, incorporating input from the Public Arts Advisory Committee. So this item was really, again, I think it came from Christian, but just to kind of make use of signs around town and make Brisbane more friendly for bicyclist pedestrians who are just getting around town, or maybe someone who's out of town.
Tomas, so in terms of item number 5, we had a specific discussion, I think that falls in there, and you guys were working on it. That's the one that, when you come into Visitacion, you have a loading zone and you have a bicycle route, and they're very close to each other. I was just wondering if that's going to be part of this point and if you have any update on that.
It's going to be considered, and one of my staff updates was actually going to be that we applied for the TDA Article 3 grant for a bike pedestrian master plan update. Our last one was in 2017, and I know I've referenced it at these meetings, and you guys, the reaction has been like, well, this is from 2017. So, and we've done some significant infrastructure improvements since then. So a little bit more to come on that, but we just applied for this grant, and I actually did a presentation to the CCAG Bike Ped Committee last week. So fingers crossed that we get that grant, and that would certainly be a significant part of item 5, assuming we get the grant. And yes, Visitation will be included and reviewed at that.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm trying to understand the best way to engage with this list, and I think where I'm struggling is just trying to understand maybe the level, like what's phase each of these items are, because I think as you point out, they're different phases of maturity. Where I believe on item 1, we've spent a lot of time exploring and assessing. And then I think now, I believe we're in the implementation phase, if that's correct, or something like that. But
Right, correct. So for item one, for items one and two, they've all been progressing in different, those have progressed. So for, I won't go back to item one, but for item two, obviously, we are going forward with our plan with a soft build once we get that report. So there's not much for this committee to do outside of receiving that report and having that conversation as far as refining that and moving forward. What we haven't started really on yet, other than getting some very specific location-based comments and highlights from residents and other members, would be items 3 through 6. And so what we want to focus on is, what would be the best way? And we've had different conversations internally about how we want to approach this. I think some of the areas we want to, we probably want to, I think the committee's desire was to actually walk some of these areas and physically look at it and make a list of areas of concern that we want to take a closer look at. And so if we want, what we can do is maybe we can create a format of maps and forms that we can provide our committee members to help organize the intake process. Because what we'd like to do next is items 3 through 6 are really more data gathering.
Yeah.
Okay,
so maybe two suggestions. I think one, maybe having like almost like a table format of understanding what phase it's in and what's needed and what the next step is for all of these. Because I think even on item 1, we spent a lot of time on that. I've been on this committee for over a year, and I feel like we've been focusing there, but yet I still don't feel a sense of completion. I don't know what tangibly has been done or when we will see that progress, and not having feeling like seeing the full cycle through. It's hard for me to understand like the best way to engage on items 3 through 6, if that makes sense. And also just having a feeling of like, okay, is our input making a difference? Are we, being able to adequately meet the needs of the community on item 1? Like, for example, even getting, having that list, getting feedback from the community, say, hey, did we satisfactorily address item 1, or is there more work yet to do there, right? So to me, I'm just looking for more guidance and direction, just in terms of where things stand and when things are quote unquote done.
That's a good point. I think there's certain things that are finite and will be completed, but there's certain things that will continue. And I think things when you look at citywide bike pedestrian networks, I don't know if we'll ever get to a place where it's going to be complete, because I feel like every time you have large spans of areas, you have new regulations and requirements that come in. There's new technologies, there's new infrastructure needs. And some of these things will continue to be, even when we get to that point where we feel we're complete, we're probably at a point where we're going to restart and look at what else we can modify, what else we can improve. For item 1, I think, based on my understanding of that situation, so there was a very, horrific accident that triggered the concern with visitation specifically. And that was what was the start of it. And it turned into this, looking at safety specifically, but with the outreach that the city did, it turned into a much larger program. It was really a downtown revisioning project is what it really turned into. So I think what we wanted to do on item 1 was to really focus that back towards something tangible and meaningful, something that we can achieve from the perspective of safety. Loading zones there's some safety, there's some tangents to safety because if people are double parking, obviously. But I think we're hitting really the high points on item 1 specifically. The stop sign warrant analysis was really something that had continued to come up as far as concerns. So so again, as we've gone through the warrant study for that one specifically, we have some tangible action that we're going to move forward with, which is installing those stop signs on the major on the visitation side. We are, there's the things like parking enforcement. That's going to be an ongoing conversation because it's not an infrastructure project. It is an enforcement piece. There is a ongoing operational cost to that we have to, and other departments that need to weigh in. So those are things that we will have to, continue working on. But I think as far as the point with where we are on these certain tasks, we will make sure that for the next, even before the next meeting, we will send a list out once we get some feedback tonight with the prioritization, but also we'll start putting in kind of status updates. So it's not just a list. This was great for city council presentation. It's not functional for what you guys were looking for.
Yeah,
And
and
we
just-
hear
yeah.
that.
Okay, and just to finish that, then, yeah, so I think that would be helpful for myself, perhaps, I think, for this committee, but then also just as a way of also knowing that when we can re-engage with the community, be able to say, hey, you know, this is the result of, you know, the city's feedback, input, you know, this committee's assessment, you know, and then the partnership with the city to implement, right? Just so that, and I get it, some of the things there's going to be pending or ongoing, right? But at least we can kind of show progress.
Absolutely. No, I hear you on that.
Thanks.
I mean, I definitely echo what Raymond is saying. I don't want to lose my thought here, but in some of the points we drilled in at a very detailed level, like point number 1, but some of them we have not. For instance, the one about bicycle, are we going to also ask for infrastructures? Like, for instance, some of the businesses here don't have a bicycle rack. Do we also want a vendor to provide e-bikes in case, you know, people want to rent a bike and go wherever they need to go? So what are the specific things that we're going to do for the bike? I mentioned the one in Visitacion, you know, with, that it conflicts to a certain extent with the loading zone. So in general, some of these points, we have not gone at a very detailed level like we did in number 1. So I was just wondering, how can we manage that better? So we have common goals, and then obviously, once you have that clarity, you could put dates and follow the progress and so forth, and report back to the community, which is a very important point.
Yeah, and I think, you know, those are really valid, and I understand the concerns. And I think, yeah, a huge part of this is making sure that folks that have put their time in, not just on the committee side, but the members of the public are informed of what we're doing. For the, you know, and again, if we look specifically at some of the language, you know, for items 3 through 6, obviously this is a 1-year list. And we know that there's, you know, as far as not just time, but there's budgetary impacts with all of these things. So the idea for 3 through 6 is, if you read through them, we're looking at, these are really audits and evaluations. So our goal for this work plan, based on the way that these were formed, was to complete these audits and assessments by the end of this year. Then this committee will have the opportunity to talk about next year's work plan. And then we can talk about what we're going to look at implementing as part of that. There may be certain things that come out of these assessments and audits that are really straight safety related, something that, you know, we may take, you know, I may take certain things and just, we may just do it, depending on the severity of what we determine. But a lot of these things will require additional planning, design, environmental review, and construction. If we're talking about, hey, there's a segment of bike lane that's missing here, we want to incorporate that, or we want to convert this class 2 to a class 1, things of that nature, where you're talking about construction type projects. Those are the kinds of things that we would ultimately be looking at implementing at a future cycle. So think about, for the items 3 through 6, those are not construction related projects. Those are really assessments and audits to see where we are trying to focus, where we're going to focus ourselves in the coming future. That's really the goal of those items, the way they're written. Because when you look at, let's say we're looking at conduct a citywide audit of sidewalk conditions and needs and obstructions, that is very specific to identifying where the issues are. We still have to come up with an opportunity to actually make some of those improvements and implement those changes. And that is not something that we can undertake in 6 months.
Miss Emily?
Thank you. So for item number 2, just to put a pin in it, there will be a final report presentation on September 24th of this year, and that will be done. So there will be temporary stuff installed, and then that will be done. for items 3 through 6, I would like to suggest that number 3, you give us a little bit of an idea of like, I don't know, do we just sit out in our cars and watch trucks drive by and count them? I don't know what that means as far as of the circulation pattern, but as far as item number 4 goes and 5, I think we should pick dates and say, okay, by July 15th, we're gonna meet and we're gonna throw out to the community, because I know there's a lot of parents who want to be involved and will be happy to be involved. If Maz and Tomas, if you guys can make maps for us, and then we can have a big huddle with the parents on that, whatever day that is, and say, okay, you're going out to these streets and you're going out to these streets, and you're gonna mark, we have sidewalks, we don't have sidewalks, we have crosswalks, we don't have crosswalks, we have faded crosswalks, we have tree problems, we have sidewalks that have bumps in them that cause kids to fall or adults to trip or whatever it is. I think we just need to pick a date for those, so that way that can happen sometime this summer, preferably, for at least 4 and 5. And I think 6 could probably be thrown into a very similar process. I would love to have wayfinding signs throughout the town, but I don't think it's completely new to us. So it's kind of what people think. And I know Councilmember Kern really liked that idea too. So, Janice?
I think we're having a little bit of a struggle with the list on how we're going to attack it. Not on. Okay, so sorry. Yeah, so in March, before I was on this committee, there were a group of us who got together, and it was precipitated because Prologis just purchased 11 more parcels in Crocker Industrial Park. And so the group is concerned about what is going to become of the parcels that are in the purchase, because now they have 24 parcels in Crocker. And I actually have a map. Sorry, I didn't send it out to everyone, but it shows in outline where all those parcels are that they own. And given that there are vacancies there, it's conceivable that Prologis had some idea to maybe collapse some of them or build up some of them. And so this group that I'm a part of now, we wrote this letter to the city council. And so we had some line items, which if you bear with me, I'll just read them, what our concerns were. So we wanted to have a request for review of Crocker Park zoning. We wanted to have a discussion about future uses, what those might be. The third was impacts on homes, schools, and open space. And then the last, which is very important, is a request to work together. And so I would like to continue this discussion with this committee as well, because I realize that this ad hoc group that I'm a part of, we're not going to be able to accomplish everything just by requesting discussions on all of this. But there is some movement to try and get the city council to act on some of these, possibly by putting in code in ordinances around traffic, truck patterns, and what they do when they're actually used in these parcels that are in Crocker. I mean, because right now it's not crowded, but it could become more crowded if there was a large data center put in, for example. Anyway, so now I digress. But anyway, so I think because the city council did approve this work plan, they know that we are interested in it. I didn't know what you just said, Tomas, about Visitation Avenue and trucks being on that street that are a problem. But the reason why I have more of an interest is because I live up at the ridge, and we are above where Crocker is. And so people who live at the Altamar and at Viewpoint, they're going to be more subject to noise, traffic, or anything that comes about from development in Crocker. So anyway, I actually put together some slides because that's what I did when I was working. So I could share those with you. Basically, the slides that I put together, it just looks at the current signage that we have now. So I don't know if you've ever noticed at the entrance of Guadalupe Canyon Parkway and Mission Blue, there is a sign there that says commercial vehicles over 5 tons prohibited, local deliveries only. And so I don't pay attention to trucks very much, so I looked up what is actually 5 tons. And it turns out that's light, well, it's in the light duty category, so the medium and the heavy duty are excluded from going on that road. And then, in addition, I looked at the South San Francisco ordinances, and they actually have quite a few well-defined codes in there about truck traffic, and so we could look at that and see whether we could just borrow it and not rewrite, reinvent the wheel. So anyway, I'm happy to work on that if people agree. And like I said, I have people who are very motivated over this, and so we want to bring it to the city council, and we're planning to make an appearance at one of the council meetings that's upcoming to talk about this and to bring it to their attention. So anyway, that's the latest.
Thank you. Jose?
Yeah. Is your group in contact with any of the companies or industries here in Brisbane?
That's a really good question. No,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but that will be the first thing to do, either your group or the city, to coordinate with the companies, get the information
Well,
from them,
Okay,
and
so
then act accordingly.
I know that Cliff and one of the other council members have met with Prologis to talk about the property and what their intent is. I think they're very early discussions.
Okay. Yeah, because also through the government websites, you can get information about what kind of vehicles the company has. That's information that is there. So we can get an idea of what type of vehicles we're dealing with as well.
Okay, yeah. In fact, I looked at some of the openings for the addresses that are vacant now, and actually the real estate agents, they describe very well what the capabilities are for those parcels. So it's pretty interesting. It's all new to me, but yeah.
So this topic that you bring in, or investigations that you got ongoing with your group, would that fall under evaluate commercial truck circulation patterns?
That's exactly what I heard Janice say. She volunteered for number 3, and she has a group of people that would love to do that part. So I think, Janice, do you want to lead number 3?
I would love to.
Yeah, and I do want to add a note. Yeah, these aren't all observation based. They could be research driven too. Like for instance, like we're not only observing the city. We can also look into other cities, see what is maybe better practice or standard practice that maybe the city could learn from. So when we say evaluate, it's not just go look at trucks. It's also we can investigate what other cities are doing.
And I think through the chair, what we can do is work with individual committee members that may want to focus some efforts on specific items. If Janice, if you want to share those slides with us, what we can do is work on getting that into the packet and have a more focused discussion specifically on that item for our next meeting.
Okay.
So I'm happy to,
Thank you.
if the chair and the committee wants to do that, we can certainly start bringing some of these things forward. And the only reason that we wanted to have this conversation was because we there is a sense of timing of concern. I don't want to. I think all of us, none of us want to be in the position of, another month or two. We're really getting close to the tail end of the year, and we would really would love to move forward on some of these items.
So one of the things that's in this slide that I got from South San Francisco was purpose. I know a lot of people in Brisbane, they're very NIMBY oriented, not in my backyard. But actually, the city council knows that we get a lot of sales revenue from our friends over at Amazon. And so it's not that we don't want trucks to be in Valley, in the Crocker Industrial Park, but we want to work with them so that we know what to anticipate, and so that it doesn't happen before we get a chance to look at it and provide some guidance. So, because business is very important. I mean, that's why Crocker Industrial Park is there. It's not residential, it's for business. So we have to kind of balance all of that.
I would throw out to you, Paul, is there anyone else on this committee who would like to co-lead with Janice on number 3? So there's 2 committee people working on it, perhaps?
So that's a good question, because I was going to sort of throw it out there. So are we forming subcommittees to tackle this list right now?
You certainly can,
Okay.
yeah.
And I will say that, I mean, we're a lot of discussion right now, but after this meeting, there's an organization component, and I can, just see where everyone landed, who's doing what are we looking for. So that can happen after.
So, yes, I would help Janice on item number 3.
Oh, great.
And I have a lot of time because I'm retired now. So I could be the boots on the ground. If you guys did your list, you said, hey, I'm concerned about this, this, or that. I'll go take pictures. I'll take measurements. I'll do anything I could do to facilitate the getting out there and doing it in a timely manner. Because I know when you're working, it's difficult. So,
I'm retired too.
okay, well, good, Janice. You and I will hang out. I like to eat too, so we'll have to incorporate that.
Sounds good.
Okay, while you're eating over there, can you put a deadline on that? Maybe by August 1st, you got something for us?
Even sooner. We'll get on it. And I don't want to jump ahead of anybody, but I just wanted to make one comment. And I know that some of these things on this list are cost prohibitive at this time because they need to be engineered, they need to be thought about being paid for. But the tree-related site obstructions, I would even go as far as to volunteer to remove branches because most of these tree obstruction issues aren't about removing the trees, it's just about removing the lower branches. So if I can assist with that, I would also like to help going around to trim out bushes and trees. I like to do that.
Appreciate that. We'll definitely, I do want to touch base with our maintenance team on some of those items, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
but-
your desire to volunteer. So we'll see what we can do to make that happen.
Okay, and to that point, I would like people, if that's okay with others, to, you make your observation and I'll go out and verify it with pictures and measurements and whatever it is you are concerned about.
And can I just word of the wise before you go starting to touch people's trees? If they're private property, don't touch it.
If it's over the public right of way, I'll touch it.
In that case, I'm gonna volunteer to take on number 4 or be a part of the team assisting with number 4 and number 5. Like I said, there's a group of parents that would be happy to, kind of like they have the volunteer, the red painting, the striping. There's a group that'd be willing to go out, and we just need to coordinate Tomas and Maz on getting us maps so that we can have those and whatnot.
Yeah, you could count me in for number 5 as well.
Okay.
And I'm not totally clear on number 6, Public Art Advisory Committee.
If I may, on number 5, Maz, when we're conducting the infrastructure review of the bicycle routes, I'm still not clear and haven't gotten any an answer as to whose responsibility is Bayshore Boulevard. Is that the state, or is that, I know Brisbane does maintenance, but as far as like the bike lane, because it's a regional artery and not just a Brisbane street, is that possible that some of these bicycle improvements to the routes could be covered by the state?
No, my understanding of the ownership of Brisbane, of Bayshore is that it is a city facility, so it is within our right of way. It doesn't mean that we can't look for grant funding opportunities to do some of the heavier implementation. Some of the smaller ones could be, something we can look at trying to do operationally. But yeah, it is. It used to, when 101 was constructed, in traffic moved over from Bayshore. Bayshore Boulevard became a city facility.
Thank you.
So this is something that, I don't know whether you know this already, but one of our residents of Brisbane who passed away last December, he left a certain amount of money to the city to build citywide bike lanes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I wasn't aware either.
Okay,
Didn't
so
know that either. So if
the
you
name
could
of
share
the
more
person is
information.
John Quilter, and he is leaving 300,000 for bike lanes, because he used to ride his bike everywhere in Brisbane. Did you know him?
I did. He was my neighbor.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, I didn't know.
So are that funds in some sort of trust, nonprofit organization, or the city has those funds?
Well, he just passed away in December, so his successor trustee is working through it, because he left money to a lot of people. And so I anticipate it's going to be several months before the money gets loose.
And did he had a specific things that he wanted to be done, or it could be for general use just to improve the bike?
He wanted the city to have bike lanes everywhere.
Okay.
And he did leave other pots of money to Brisbane, too. So, yeah, I could share that with you. I think somebody in the city must know about it, because they had to notify.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I had no idea. So that's something to think about for sure. Okay.
Maz, will you follow up with Jeremy and the city attorney on that? They should have a copy of that. If there is a trust involved, they would have been notified.
Yeah,
under
I've
California.
Yeah, I've made a note. I will follow up.
Anybody else?
We still need volunteers. Who wants to help with 4 and 6? Raymond?
I can assist with 5. I was thinking with limit, I have certain time restrictions, which I'll talk about offline. But with 5, the bicycle route, since I bike around quite a bit, I have a point of view on that.
I could probably help with 4, because I coordinate the trees up at Viewpoint. So I'm familiar with walkthroughs and trimming and removals but someone on the city staff must be aware of what trees are the city's and which are not. Would that be Keegan?
We, through the chair, we do have, we've done a tree inventory. There is something that was put out there. We have we've done a lot of surveys. So yes, we are at a point where we have documentation as far as which trees are city owned, which ones are not. And as it was mentioned, even on a private tree that encroaches into the public right of way, when it is obstruction, we do have the ability to go and do trimming, but usually we'll ask the owner of that private tree to address some of those issues. But yeah, we can follow up with more. We can follow up with more information, because we actually have our GIS system was updated to incorporate tree inventory just recently.
The problem that we have up at Viewpoint is that it's a master agreement with the city that we will always replace a tree with one that's removed. And so the city is actually very active in when we make a declaration that we want to remove a tree, they require arborists to look at it, and that's kind of expensive. So removals and arborist review, all of that's really expensive. So I don't know if there's a budget for this work, but, I guess it would require prioritization to know which are the trees that are most important to be removed or trimmed.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think there's a completely different program to deal with some of our trees and some of the trees that are in poor condition that need to be removed. We do have an internal arborist on staff that we can support, but we also have a budget for that. So I think for the purposes of this committee, it was really more about the obstruction. But yes, there is a larger project in place that we are looking at as a city to address some of our canopy goals, as well as some of the removals of some of the some of them are just stumps, some of them are dead or dying trees that were identified in this more robust tree plan. So we're going to be, I think there's with both that effort and our purview on obstruction and visibility, I think that we should be able to manage a sizable improvement in our, for safety, as well as, retaining some of our canopy goals.
Just answering Emily's question about the items on the list. I can just take a look at number 6, basically, to get to know what is implied in there.
Yeah, and Jose, I can provide you some kind of backup materials that might help guide that. Just, I mean, like I said, we have an old master plan that might just help you with the whole, just bike lanes in general. So.
Excellent. Yeah. Honestly, when I reviewed the list, when I received it, number 3 was the one that I say, this is one that I can implement because of the background I have in technology and using data, analyzing data, even doing simulations and stuff, using technology to do that. So that's why number 3 was on my list, but I can always work with you.
Oh, yeah, that would be
on
great.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
So I'm going to recap the ones that I would like to participate. Definitely number 5. So I guess Raymond is on board on that too. And then number 6 is so this is sort of doing an inventory or understanding the general signage and what likes of signage.
Yeah, I think my understanding of number 6 was that it's not really a citywide audit. It's really about the critical locations that are known, or that you see and identify as you're thinking about it from this perspective, and bringing a list of areas that and concepts that we want to look at implementing. And the idea with the Public Art Advisory Committee incorporation was, obviously, there's, one, you can make them more than just regulatory signs, make them something that's visually appeasing, and also it opens up another funding opportunity.
Yeah, so I'll participate in that one
Okay.
too.
So I'm thinking maybe after this meeting and when I, do the minutes and recap, I'll make a table that has everyone coupled in their teams, and then I can put maybe the timeline ahead, and then we'll say, just put an X. When do you think this will be done? This month, this date, the middle of the month, and then just so we can kind of all be on the same page.
Chris?
Yeah, just a few questions and comments. On item number 3, I was wondering if there was anything from the warrant analysis study that was done, any data that came out of that would be useful to the work that's going on with number 3, or that will be going on with number 3. On 5, is 5 dependent on the CCAG grant that Tomas referred to earlier? Brisbane's a pretty challenging place when it comes to bike routes because our white line adjacent to a curb means different things depending on where you are in town. And I think we need to have a slightly higher standard for a class 5 bike lane, as example, 4 or 5. I'm also remembering the Connect 101 presentation that Patrick Gilster made here. And if I recall correctly, there were some potential projects going on relative to bike infrastructure in that presentation. So we might want to revisit that. It might be helpful to have a presentation made to this committee on the tree inventory and the canopy goals so that we all are familiar with that project that's been going on for some time within another committee. And there's another aspect to number 5 and possibly to some of these others, and that has to do with the Baylands. Because, for example, we desperately need bike lanes on Tunnel Avenue, and we keep talking about postponing those. So, yes, the Baylands is going to happen at some point in the future, but we have to have a way to take some ownership of that. So, thanks.
Also, yeah, sorry if that wasn't clear. It's not dependent on the grant. It's just, it's similar topics. I just wanted to touch on it, but now it's not. So yeah, that would be months away regardless. So it's not dependent on the grant.
Yeah, I think when the grant opportunity presented itself, we wanted to see if we can get that funding, because obviously it would help with a more robust plan and save us as far as our efforts on focusing on maybe some of the other priorities. But I think this committee wanted to work on that. So if we can get it, great. If we don't get it, I think we can still move forward on some of our goals here.
And what is the timeline for that grant, if it were to happen?
Well, it would be awarded, actually, it would be awarded in the fall. So once it's awarded in the fall, let's say September, then there's a funding agreement that takes maybe by the end of the year, and then it's getting in the contract with a consultant. So, I mean, quite a few months.
It'll probably work its way into next year's work plan if
Yeah.
we do get the grant, but it would also be a much, it would be a slightly bigger project, because it's not just doing the, reviewing the routes, it's also coming up with, projects, implementation, a toolkit, revisiting how we classify our bikes, the lack of buffers in some areas. So it would be, it would touch on that, number 5, but I think if we get the grant, it would take it a step further.
Somebody also mentioned, excuse me, they used a different term, but I think that it was a reference to bike share. Christian, I think you were talking about that, where electric bikes could be available for use in town. I don't know what the deal is with San Mateo County, but San Mateo County hasn't really signed on to bike share. There's a little bit in Daly City, but otherwise it's a gap until you get to Santa Clara. And that's actually something we should take a look at, because it's more often than not that I go to the Caltrain station and I see bike share bikes there. So people are finding a way to use them. In this case, they're probably coming from San Francisco. But that really, and this is, it's interesting, because there's this safety committee, Complete Streets Safety Committee, which has its objectives, but then there's overlap with these other committees tremendously going on. And I wish there was a way to create a little bit more synergy.
I have a question for you. For number 3, did you say there was a study that we could leverage off?
Well, I'm wondering if the study that was done on Visitation Avenue, where they had all of those gizmos and such up in place, if that produced any information about truck patterns and such.
Yeah, through the chair, we can ask, once we receive the final report and the raw data, we can take a look and see how that data was actually distributed. I know that they got volumes and speeds and different things. I'm curious to see if they were able to detect sizes of vehicles with those counts as well. So we can, once we get that data, we can take a closer look, and if it is supportive, we'll definitely incorporate it.
I had a question on number 4 about sidewalk conditions and needs. So we recognize and identify these sites that are in need. And now that we've identified them, what do we do to make them safe in the meantime? And are we going to be liable once we've acknowledged, not that we're putting our head in the sand, like, burying our head in the sand, that we don't see it? We see it. But I know the city could be liable any way you look at it, if somebody trips on a. So can we lessen that liability, or can we highlight them with paint just for the time being, if we couldn't get to them to actually replace the concrete?
That's a great comment. I think that's something we can certainly do, and maybe that's part of our outreach, part of our volunteer opportunity when we go out there and walk some of these areas. Maybe it's maybe we can provide the equipment and the materials to do that painting as you guys are going around and taking notes. I think it really depends on what we find. I think what I see is going to be kind of a mixed bag. You're going to get we're going to get 2 different things out of these exercises. We're going to find some low-hanging fruit, no pun intended, on the trees. We're going to find some things that we can just do now. Maybe we have annual sidewalk repair and maintenance projects. We will go take care of those tripping hazard areas, the worst of the worst. And then as we get past those worst of the worst, we'll look at what's the worst situation. So some of those things will come out of it, and we can take care of some of that. Some things we might just determine that, hey, this neighborhood, there's a really big gap in the sidewalk network. That would really help. And that turns into a project. And so that's beyond just kind of a maintenance effort. So I look at it as two different things. I think we're going to get some small items that we can manage and tackle as part of our operating budget. And I think some of them we're going to identify certain things that are going to be, hey, this is something that's really necessary and it's not a quick turnaround, but we should really spend more time investigating and finding out how we can take care of it. And I'm using that sidewalk gap as an example because it's just easy to visualize. You've got you've got a half block area where you have sidewalks everywhere except this half a block. That would be a great opportunity to connect that because then you're finishing that loop. And maybe that turns into a $250,000 project that we can go get grant funding for. So that's the way I look at it. These assessments are going to give us more information and data, and then we can determine, okay, this set is quick turnarounds. Let's incorporate it into our operating budgets. We may find things that are going to be bigger that we're going to have to plan and look at funding for in the future. That's the way I'm looking at these things.
And that was the point I was getting at, Maz, and you mentioned that, yes, we could highlight them, and I just wanted to make them safe until they could be worked on.
And I, similar to like ADA transition plans, I think you mentioned this, Paul, the city can be liable under any situation in public right of way. But I don't think that highlighting this in the field or putting it on a list, it really increases any liability. Now, if we don't do anything with it, yes.
No,
but
and that's the point I was getting at.
But our intent is not to sit on these things. Our intent is to identify it and start progressing towards solutions. And usually, as long as you do that, we don't have like large general liability.
Okay, and that's the point I was getting at is that, yes, we recognize there's an issue and we're temporarily made it safe. And I wasn't trying to say that would remove the liability, but I thought it could lessen the possibility of something.
It can definitely lessen it because it does add that. I do want to say that it absolutely will not make it worse. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is the city responsible for all sidewalk maintenance in Brisbane?
There are some, I have to take a closer look. I think we do have some private streets. So in those situations, if there's a sidewalk, no. But for the majority of our streets, I believe it is city responsibility.
Generally, yes, yeah.
Now, I have to take a closer look because this actually goes back to the California streets and highways codes. There is a general language for the state of California that streets and that sidewalks are actually responsibility of adjacent properties. The caveat is that a lot of jurisdictions will take ownership of take over the maintenance responsibilities. I haven't done that level of detail yet. I don't know if Tomas has, but we can take a closer look at that. And aside from that, it doesn't mean that, again, it's a public right of way. So if there's a safety hazard, it's really becomes a city decision on how they want to approach it. But I just wanted to highlight that in my career, I've done a little bit of research on that. And the way that the state highway code's written, it actually does put the burden on the private property adjacent to that sidewalk.
Right.
But I think, the city of Brisbane, whether we formally adopted that process or not, we have been implementing sidewalk maintenance as a city function.
Up at the ridge, we have a sidewalk that's pretty bad. And so the city did come out and paint it where the cracks were and where it was raised. But that was like 2 years ago and the paint's already almost gone. So my understanding is that the city will go ahead and repair it, but that they're going to bill us back, the homeowners association. Anyway, just a question.
That one, yeah, I'll take a closer look at that because that neighborhood was, that planned development may have other agreements with the city.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll take a closer look at that one.
Anybody else?
Just to throw it out there, I don't know if we should be concerned with autonomous vehicles like Waymo, and also if there's any addition or category that as a safety group we can add to the city app, or just have a better understanding. All I'm saying is nowadays, people are spending a lot of time on their phone, and they're just, technology, especially in the Bay Area, I guess, consume a lot.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any autonomous vehicles or what the status is in town, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, they used to park by
Oh, wow.
Bruno.
Okay.
They park frequently there.
Oh.
I mean, is that Crocker Park's going to start using autonomous 18-wheelers? If they do, are they going to communicate the city? Would that be a concern?
I think that's I think that's more than just a Brisbane concern, because at that point you're talking about, autonomous vehicles of that size. Yeah, and I think that's a regional thing. But yeah, I mean, as technology advances, I think those are the things that we have to start, we have to continue to consider. I mean, e-bikes is a good example. They've become very popular, obviously, but recently, unfortunately, in San Mateo County, we've had some fatalities, especially with children utilizing e-bikes. And so now the county is looking at making some, harder restrictions on some of those things. And so, I think, yeah, it's something that's not lost, even though it's not specifically on this work plan currently. But as technology changes, as human behavior patterns shift, I think we have to keep these things in the context of safety and revisit them as they become more of a concern. I think for Waymo specifically, I mean, after it was the road closures for the trick or treating, there was a issue with one of the Waymos that got stuck because they did not understand that was a blocked street. And so those are the kinds of things that do come up that we have to take a closer look at. So.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw this, but on the residents of Brisbane, California, somebody reported that the highway sign off of Sierra Point, that somebody had put, one of their signs over it unrelated to traffic. And then they were complaining because the sign's all faded. And then they made somebody said, "Oh, Public Works, why don't you do something about it?" And so when I saw that, I said, well, I mean, it's probably the DOT that's supposed to take care of those things.
So I will share this. I don't go on social media very often. Professionally or personally, I call me a Gen Z or whatever. I will say that I utilize this tool quite a bit. Caltrans has a customer service request similar to My Brisbane, where you can go and tell Caltrans, hey, there's a sign that's graffiti on it. Hey, there's weeds growing up causing visibility concerns on your off ramp. Anything in the state right of way, we can do that. When I see a situation like that, I do the same thing. Even as a Brisbane employee, the off ramps, they were actually cleaning that off ramp to Bayshore. That was because I put a ticket in 2 weeks ago saying, you guys haven't come out here in a while. There's an old tire. There's a bunch of debris. And so they finally, I actually got a response last week, hey, we're on it. And then today they came out and actually cleaned that area up. So they are tracking that and monitoring it. So what I'm happy to do is we can share that with our community through our social media channels and through our communication channels, because that is a tool that we can utilize when it comes to Caltrans right of way. And it's a very similar platform to our own service requests within Brisbane itself. And a lot of times if we get something that comes in through our service requests and it's a Caltrans issue, I'll usually turn around and just put it into the Caltrans request system. It's just as simple as replying to that person saying, hey, there's this platform. But I think we can do a better job of highlighting that tool to residents, because I agree. I think Caltrans is a large agency. They have a lot of area that they cover, and they utilize that service request quite a bit to prioritize and address areas. I think we can all wish that they were a little bit more, responsive rather than being reactive. But we do have this tool, and they have been responsive. So, we can highlight that so that people are more aware of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody at home?
No.
No hands raised, Chris? Okay, moving on. Good job on that. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for working this out. Okay, that brings us to item H, appoint a representative to be part of the Beautification Subcommittee.
So, there was a request. There is a beautification subcommittee that's being formed, and it has representatives from all the different committees and commissions. And so, what we wanted to do tonight was to formally agendize this to have one member of this committee represent the Complete Street Safety Committee at this beautification subcommittee.
I'll do it. No. Anybody interested in that?
I am.
Oh. He said one, didn't he?
So
Not
this
two.
is for visitation, right?
I think it's citywide. I think they have some areas, and apologies. I don't know where they are currently in their process, but I do know that this is a citywide subcommittee. I believe that visitation is kind of high on their list, but I believe it's a little bit broader than that. But we can certainly provide, we can provide more information. Let me see if I can find it while we're talking. But it'll be a time commitment. They will have public meetings, and it'll be a little bit more involved. But let me see if I can find while we're chatting about nominations a little bit more specifics.
For the most part, are they going to be looking at either harmonizing or improving some of the architecture, or making it more, or bringing up like a theme, like urban, architecture type of stuff? Or, I know I discussed this with Jeremy a while back, and I have a feeling I know what it is. And I do have a lot of architect people that I work with.
Yeah, I just heard about it today, so yeah, I got nothing.
So, it says appoint. Is that something we do as a committee?
Yeah, this would be a formal appointment. This would be a discussion amongst the committee members themselves, a nomination, a second, and then a vote to actually have that nomination appointment to the subcommittee. And let me see if I can find a little bit more information before you guys jump into it.
But I guess you can pin down, so Paul and Christian, you two are interested in it, or?
No,
Oh, you're kidding.
You better find out. It might be picking up trash.
yeah, no, I get just one appointee, so. So, are we ready to proceed on that?
Let's, yeah, he's going to provide us more information.
Yeah, once.
You do
sorry.
want to know if it's picking up trash or
Yes.
deciding how to make the city beautiful. I mean, I would too, but.
Sidewalk sweeping.
Right. Tomas, while Maz is looking that up, can you tell us a little bit more about how this process is gonna work, since we have two people who would like to be? I don't think we've ever had to do this before, or well, at least while I've been on the committee, we haven't had to do this. So, I mean, I don't wanna pick a friend and not pick a friend, and
Yeah,
someone's gonna
that's
not
a-
like me very much after this.
I don't think I've ever experienced this either. I imagine it's a vote at the end amongst the current members, but yeah, it's a new one.
I was basically self-appointing myself, but I would relent to Christian.
Babe, I think what it is, we have prior discussion on it and have some sort of idea on it, but I want to make sure it's what I think it is.
So you're saying we can't just say we vote for Christian now, whether it's picking up trash or making the city prettier?
We can assign him.
So to your point, in the future, that would have been.
So, yeah, there's limited information online, but what I'm finding is that it's really focused on city-owned properties. So beautification of city-owned properties. So I don't, I'm sorry, I don't have more background on that. I'm trying to see if there's a little bit more information.
So Christian?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
Let's
good.
put me on a
Okay, we're
boat.
good.
All right.
Aye.
All
All
right,
right, congrats, Christian.
thank you.
Aye.
Okay, we all good?
And we'll definitely, yeah, we'll
You'll fill
make
you
sure
in.
that you get more information coming up. But yeah, I think it's looking, my understanding was it was a pretty broad conversation on city-owned properties and right-of-ways. I think you're probably right. I think there's been a lot of conversation about Visitation Avenue and kind of creating that more formal downtown vibe and feel. So I think that's a start of it, but I think the subcommittee's desire is to be broad. And again, it's a subcommittee, so there's, if there's interest from others and we want to make, if there's opportunities to change, change seats, we can certainly revisit that too in the future.
So, when are the other elected subcommittees are going to meet together, or what is the time frame for this to move on and get all the goals and for some?
Yeah, I don't think they have any meeting dates set yet. I think because I know that they were looking at appointments. So I think OSEC just did theirs last week, and we've done ours. So we're going to provide that over to Angel Ibarra, and she'll be reaching out.
Got it.
Is it a subcommittee of a certain committee, or is it just called a subcommittee?
This is a unique one. It's a subcommittee that comprises of a member from each of the committees and commissions. So there'll be OSEC member, the IDEA committee, City Council, Planning Commission. It'll have one rep from every committee.
And you said that those would be publicized.
Yeah,
Meetings.
I believe these are public meetings, and so what we'll do is we'll provide with our city manager's office this committee's representative on this subcommittee, and there'll be a lot more information for Christian. And I think what we can do is even set up a little. When we have our chair and committee member matters, I think that's a great opportunity to share any updates as that progresses.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Christian. Welcome to the subcommittee. Keep it beautiful. Okay, that brings us to staff updates.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. Pat myself on the back real quick. I passed my 8-hour professional engineering exam.
Right.
I'm not a licensed engineer yet, but I still need to pass 2 more 4-hour exams, which are seismic engineering and surveying. But I'm halfway to becoming a licensed engineer. So
Wow.
That's
Congratulations.
for me. Thank you.
Huge.
Okay, now the city stuff. Monterey Street. The design is design is at 95%. We provided our final comments, and we want to advertise the project as soon as next week, so we can award in 2 weeks from the bid date, and then I anticipate construction beginning in July, at the end of July at the latest. SB1 update. This is a consent calendar item for the city council meeting tomorrow, but it's just a state reporting of our chosen streets for our next paving project. And I've already touched on it a little bit, but we're going to be doing Mendocino Street between San Bruno Avenue and Alvarado between Visitation and San Bruno, and San Benito Road between Visitation Avenue and Sierra Point Road. Grants, we are applying for the active transportation grant and the One Bay Area grant cycle 4. More to discuss on more to come with the scope, because we're going to discuss with some of our grant team tomorrow, but we'll keep you guys posted on that. And then the red curb effort is going to continue on San Bruno Avenue. So if you have a desire to participate, be on the lookout for that. And that's all I got.
I have one more. We'll have more information at the next meeting, but we are, we closed on our Deputy Director of Public Works job opening. We had final interviews, and we're in the process of bringing a new staff member on board. So nothing to report out yet, but we are getting close, and I'll share that as soon as we have something to share.
I'm curious about the roles that you're both going to play, or that you play. I know you're not playing. The Office of Emergency Services in Brisbane, is that your role?
That currently is within the city manager's office. I think we do, there's a lot of overlap, obviously. So we work with them, but right now, emergency operations, emergency services is actually within the city manager's office.
Okay, thank you.
Are you still going to be attending these meetings, or the deputy is?
The deputy is going to be focused more on our transportation and capital improvement program. So I think the deputy, you'll see that more of them, but I'm still going to be around. Sorry. I'll still be attending, but I may not be at every meeting, but between the deputy and myself, there'll be a lot, there'll be more involvement by the deputy. But again, I still plan to attend most, if not all, meetings.
Tomas, you went quite quickly on the chosen streets for the next streets. Sorry, could you just say that one more time? Jose and I were sitting over here. Wait, he said Mendocino.
Yeah.
But I don't think he said our part.
No, yeah, I don't think it's your part. I think I know where you live, Emily. It's Mendocino Street between San Bruno Avenue and Alvarado.
And then what were the other
And
ones?
then it was Alvarado Street between Visitation and San Bruno. So that kind of ties in with the school fellowship, how we're addressing the crosswalks with this project as opposed to with the fellowship. And then San Benito Road between Visitation Avenue and Sierra Point Road. So if you recall the Visitation Avenue pavement maintenance a couple years ago, it's the segment of San Benito going off of Visitation to Sierra Point Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to chair and committee member matters.
Do you want to explain what that means, Paul?
Okay, I'll
Do you want
try.
me to explain what that means?
Emily, could you please explain to us what that means?
So if there is something to Janice and Jose, if there's something that you want to have agendized for the next meeting, if there's a topic that you really want to talk about or you want us to discuss, now would be the time for you to say, can we please get this on the agenda for the next meeting or in 2 months or whatever. Correct, Tomas and Maz?
Yep, that's correct.
I don't have anything.
Right, it's your first meeting. We get it.
A lot about putting timelines together, so perhaps for number 3 that we're working on, or for number 4, that we put together some goals, short-term goals for the.
Are you talking about the work plan? Yeah, so those will be Tomas is gonna send out a sheet, and our subgroups will each plug in those dates.
Okay. I don't know if this is appropriate to bring it now, but.
You might, Mike Janice.
At the presentation that this committee made to the city council, was it a month ago? There was a man who suggested on Tulare Street that they would like to have some speed bumps put in. And I don't know what happened to that suggestion. Was it like there's so many other requests that just gets put on a list somewhere?
We did police put out some, I forget the exact name of their device, a hidden device to track speeds and gather data. So, and we finished the study. It was a 2-week long study on Tulare Street, and we're gonna evaluate next steps internally. But yep, we've been in contact.
Oh,
And-
right.
Yeah, actually, Tomas and I were planning to put that on our July agenda, so you'll get more information on that. Mr. Sosa has, we've been talking to him and giving him some updates too, and unfortunately, we weren't able to gather enough data and do our review of the information for this meeting, so it'll be at the July meeting.
Good job.
Anybody else? Christian? Okay. All right. That brings us to our next meeting, July 1st. Right?
Yep.
I know, I was curious, did you have anything more you wanted to share with us? Okay, that brings us to adjournment. And I want to thank you guys for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Chris, I had a pretty robust conversation with our staff today on the intersection at Old Town Road to Beautification. We are having a hard time pointing issues. Left turn on southbound to tunnel. To tunnel towards the courtyard. That seems to be the one. That seems to be the one that's the biggest challenge.
Well, I